All right, classes, we made it. We are now on the last practice question for systems of equations. So here's what I want us to do. I want you now to think about all the work that we've done so far. Think about all the math work you've done this year and get ready to use a lot of those processes and those steps when you answer this question. So this question is practice for number 12 on the portfolio, which is right here. We're going to have two different equations and you need to solve each of the equations, and you need to show your work. Ah, don't you just love showing your work? So let's solve A together. And A reads 4.5 times R equals 8, and then parentheses 8 plus 0.5R. All right, this is where we use our steps for order of operation. We have 4.5R on one side. We could actually just drop that down already because you could see that there's nothing that needs to happen yet. But anytime you see parentheses, you know that's the first thing you have to do. And if you look inside the parentheses where it says 8 plus 0.5r, you should understand that you can't actually add 8 and 0.5 to do this. You cannot do this. So don't do that. You cannot do that because of this letter right here, the r. So you can't actually combine those using addition or subtraction, meaning that's not what you're doing. You're not solving the inside of the parentheses like that. I have a lot of students that think that they should do that, but I'm here to tell you it's not what you do. What you do is distribute. What I mean by distribute is you look at this right here, I'm about to highlight and bold, and you see that there is parentheses that says 8 plus 0.5r inside, and outside's an 8. So when you distribute, you need to multiply the number on the outside times both of the numbers on the inside. So what I mean is this 8, oh, sorry, this 8 multiplies into this 8. So we do 8 times 8 there, and that's 64. In case you don't believe me, we have 8 times 8. Oh, whoa, sorry, 8 times 8, 64. And then we need to do 8. So we'll open up this little writing tool again. So we did 8 times 8. That's how you distribute. But you also need to do 8 times 0.5r. So you need to take this 8, or the number on the outside, and multiply it into both or all of the values on the inside. So 8 times 8 is 64. That drops down there. And now you have to do 8 times 0.5r. So if we do that, we need to do 8 times 0.5 equals 4. So we write plus 4. And then this r that is attached to that 0.5r drops down here. Okay? So we need to put r there. And now we're left with an equation that says 4.5r equals 64 plus 4r. We have completed our first step. We distributed out the parentheses. And now we need to solve it very similarly to the way that we solved the other equations in the first problem. So question number 3. You'll notice that in this equation, there is an r on both sides. So we have r on the right side of the equal sign, and we have an r on the left side of the equal sign. So I told you earlier that you need now to eliminate the lower valued r. So what I mean by the lower value, well, the number that is less next to the r, or if you have two numbers next to r, whichever number is smaller. So being that 4 is smaller than 4.5, I'm going to eliminate 4r. So to eliminate 4r, I need to use the inverse operation, which means To get rid of this 4r here, the smaller one, I need to do a different sign, but the same number and letter. Little formatting issue here. Sorry. Look at this. Sorry, minus 4r. Now what I do on the right side, I also have to do on the left side. So I have to do minus 4r on both sides of the equal sign. I know this is taking a little longer, but not the best at using these worksheets sometimes. Here we go. Now it's lined up for you to see. So you do minus 4r here, different sign, but the same number and variable. And then you have to do it on the other side because those are the rules. So 4.5 minus 4 is going to be 0.5, and my r drops down. The equal sign then drops down. And 64 is not touched, so it drops down. Now 4r minus 4r is 0. So nothing needs to be dropped down further. But we're left with 0.5 times r is equal to 64. So what we have to do is now the opposite of multiplication, and that is division. So if it's 0.5 times r is equal to 64, we need to divide, because that's the opposite of multiplication, by 0.5. And what we do on the left side, we also have to do on the right side. So 0.5 divided by 0.5 is just going to be 1, so my r can drop down. We don't need to write 1r, not necessary. And now we need to figure out 64 divided by 0.5. So you do 64 divided by point, make sure you include that point, 5. Aha! So we're left with 128. R equals 128. Let's see if this is correct. How do we do that? We need to check. So we do 4.5 times 128, because remember, I could substitute that number in for r now, is equal to, and then open parentheses, just like up here, 8, same number, plus, and then 0.5, and again, times 128. Yes, you could have those parentheses looking like that. All it's trying to say is within these parentheses, you need to figure this out first. So let's solve this. 4.5, oh, 4.5 times 128. Real easy. 576. 576. And that's the left side solved. The right side takes a little bit more time. So I want you to solve what's inside the parentheses first. So my 8's going to drop down. And then in parentheses, we have 8 plus 0.5 times 128. So 8 plus, and then we need to figure out what 0.5 times 128 is. So 0.5 times 128 is equal to 64. So again, I like to work, it looks like a tree. So everything drops down that I don't use. 576 equals, now 8 drops down because we still have numbers in the parentheses. 8 plus 64 is going to be 72. And then finally, we do 576 is equal to 8 times 72. So 8 times 72 equals 576. If this is what happens in the end, after all this checking, after you substitute the number in for r, you have arrived at the correct answer. So let's look at letter B now. Letter B also has parentheses that we need to distribute. So the first thing we should do is distribute them. So if you remember, the way you do that is you take your 4 and you multiply it in to all of the values within the parentheses. So you need to do 4 times D, and then you need to do 4 times negative 12. So 4 times d is just simply 4d. You don't need to do anything crazy. If you multiply a letter into a number, you just put the number in front of the letter. 4d, it's 4 times d. Minus, and I put minus because 4 times negative 12, you need to put that negative there, is equal to 48. My equal sign drops down. My 6d plus 10 also drops down. I like to rewrite everything so it's simple. So now we solve this. And the same steps as before. We have a variable of d on both sides of the equal sign, to the left and to the right. So we need to eliminate the smaller value. So out of 4d and 6d, 4d is smaller. So the way we eliminate positive 4d is by using the same number, the same variable, but a different sign. And that one's positive, so we make this one negative. We do that on both sides of the equal sign. So minus 4d here. Notice how I don't put this 4d underneath the 10 or the 48, negative 48, because that's not where they're being applied to. So 4d minus 4d is going to be 0. My negative 48 drops down. Equal sign always drops down. 6 minus 4 is 2, 2d, and then plus 10. So I'm left with negative 48 equals 2d plus 10. To solve this, I know that my variable of d needs to be alone. It cannot be on the same side as any other number, meaning this positive 10 and this positive 2 that is attached need to be removed. So I cannot remove this 2 yet. This 2 is the last thing we remove. The number that is attached to the variable is eliminated last. So we use the inverse operations to figure out how to isolate d, and if we can't move 2 yet, the only other thing to move is 10. So if we have 10, that's positive. To eliminate it, we need the same number, same variable, there is none, but a different sign. And we also need to do this on both sides. So we go down again like the tree, negative 48 minus 10, and I'm going to do this on a calculator to show you. So we have negative 48 minus 10. That's negative 58. So negative 48 minus 10 is negative 58. Remember, when we're working with negatives, you got to apply the negative sign. So 58 is equal to 2d, because that drops down, plus 10, and then that plus 10 has the minus 10 attached. We eliminate it, it's 0. So we have negative 58 is equal to 2d, and same step as last time. When you have a number connected to a variable, it means multiplication. This is 2 times d, or 2 times a number. To remove the multiplication, we divide. We divide by this number too. So divide by 2. Divide by 2. And let's see. Negative 58 divided by 2 equals negative 29. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So d remains. And d is equal to negative 29. We want to plug this into the equation. So 4 times negative 29 minus 12 is equal to 6 times negative 29. Remember, I'm substituting my number in for my letter, plus 10. And we solve this. Negative 29, or sorry, we should solve the parentheses first. So negative 29 minus 12 is equal to negative 41. So 4 drops down. We have negative 41 in parentheses, equal sign. And I'm just going to keep with this side. So 4 times negative 41 now is negative 164. Now let's work with the other side. So we have parentheses here, but there's nothing inside of it. So this just means that this negative 29 is going to be multiplied by 6. So we need to do 6, and you're going to multiply this 6 times, oh, sorry. So let's start this over. We need to take 6 times, then you write 29, make it negative. So again, you take your 6 times, and then make sure this 29 is negative. And that equals negative 174. But you forgot the plus 10, so don't forget to drop that down. So if it equals negative 174 plus 10, we take our negative 174, we add 10 to it, and that equals negative 164. All right, guys. I hope all these videos helped you. If they didn't, I apologize. And I know your teachers will definitely be able to help you better than I was able to help you. But for my class, I think this should be very helpful. You have my number, you have my email, so you could reach me or any other teacher that you work with. You could also, if I don't teach you and you have a question, write in the YouTube comments and I'll get back to you. So you see me, I'm just going over the sheet, erasing all my answers because I expect everybody to do it with me. So I hope you guys are safe. I miss everybody. And let's get this portfolio done.